Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 125,000 bonus miles for a limited time through October 29th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends October 29th, 2025.
Welcome back, folks. It's another episode of It's About Payroll. What's going on, Walt?
Not much, man. Doing good, brother. Like I said, you lost a lot of weight, man. I can see your face thinning out, bro.
Thanks, man.
Inspirational. So I've been going walk. I've been seeing your videos and posting it, like doing the walking and prayers. And
Yeah,
stuff.
man.
Very, very inspirational stuff, man.
Thank you, bro.
Like, so it has me motivated. I've been going for walks now and stuff myself. So just gotta eat better.
Yeah, look, it's a lot of things, bro. It has not been easy. And as we are in our 40s now, it's not easy. You know, shoot, I don't know if you remember what got me inspired was back in February-ish, a friend of mine who turned 60 took a picture of himself from the gym, and I was like, oh, bro, anybody think he's 35, 30, 30, 40, you know what I mean? Whoa. And I was just like, yo, how do you do it? And one thing he said is just consistency. And I was like, I bet. You know, he didn't go into everything that he had to do, but, you know, again, as we are, you know, in our 40s, it's been a lot of work, but I feel great. Thank you.
Yeah, we're creeping closer to that century mark, man.
Word. Well, century? No, hell no. That's no century, bro. I thought you was good at numbers.
I know, yeah, I
half
say
century.
I know. We're almost 100 years old here.
Hell no.
Yeah, talk about dog years.
Yeah, and dog. Crazy as hell. Oh my goodness. Yeah, man. So what's up, man? What's good with you?
So I found this interesting stat, right? So I was on Google earlier, and I was just like, man, I wonder what the average percentage of payroll errors that are missed. What that is, right? And it said that there's no single average percentage of payroll errors that are missed during an audit, but one survey found that 29% of employers discovered payroll mistakes only after a payroll audit was conducted.
Okay.
But that percentage is low, 29% of employers only after an audit was conducted. So it's just like, is that really true? I wonder how true that number is, because it said there was this one survey. So I'm just like, I think the payroll pros are catching more stuff than that.
Yeah, heck yeah. But because look, it's a great conversation, right? Because one, you know how I say it's not an error if it didn't go out the door, right?
Yep.
You caught it before. If that did not hit payroll, it's not an error. You caught it. Second there's definitely a higher number, because it's so funny you say it, because I saw something recently that was like there's at least 1% error in every payroll, and for real, there's no way. The only payrolls that might be error free are 100% salaried payroll batch. You know what I mean? And then it also brings the question of what do you consider an error? You know, because I just had the conversation today, like, oh, this was missed, this was missed. And it was like, if we don't know, then how is it an error? If we didn't know that it needed to be paid out, can that really be considered an error? And it brings up how we keep our error logs, right? And we flag them accordingly. Is this a system error, a people error, a process error? You know, so it brings up so many conversations. I honestly don't think, again, unless it's an all salaried payroll, hourly payroll, people got to clock in, clock out, where there are exceptions and bonuses and reimbursed expenses that get paid through payroll, like all these the more moving parts and variables.
Yeah, you're right, because it also goes on to say this, right? It says that the overall accuracy rate for most payrolls, which is in the U.S., it says that the error rate is 98.8%. Now it continues on, it says accuracy rate, and it says but it says with 80% of those being error free.
Huh?
So I'm just like, yeah, I'm trying to understand
Yeah.
what does
That's
that
that
really
new math.
mean? Yeah, no, it's okay. So maybe they're determining accuracy, like saying, hey, of everyone that needed to be paid or have a check cut,
Fair.
98% of those were good and
Okay.
processed. And of those that were processed, 80% of them didn't have any true errors. That's
Okay.
maybe that's what that means.
Okay.
I don't know. I want to read more about this, find the actual survey and read more about
Yeah,
it.
and that's the thing with
But
surveys and all that. It's so
yeah,
limited.
but on average, a lot of the things I have seen is that it was the 80%, like 80, and the 80% were error free, and the 20% had a 20% error rate, which is basically 1 in 5
Yeah.
checks or 1 in 5 payroll runs. I guess
Yep.
is what it's.
Yep.
And it says it makes about 15. It said that on average, payroll processors make about 15 corrections per pay period, leading to a cost of about almost a little under $300 per error.
Yeah.
$4,500, I think, right there.
Yeah. That sounds right. That sounds right.
Mhm.
And I'm sure, and that's on average, because there's sometimes that they're more costly than that, you know. And think about
Yeah.
it. Those are the ones that are reported. Think
Yes,
about
bro.
how many
Yeah.
overpays that are not reported, that are not
Yes.
egregious. You know what I mean? Because we usually find the egregious ones when it's like somebody's
Yeah.
really overpaid. But if somebody's $100 overpaid, a few $100 with, like it's all within reason, then maybe not, Yeah, good stuff. That's a good conversation.
It's a good talking point,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
Yeah.
good. We should do actually a whole show just like
Yeah.
errors and all the conversation around that.
Yeah.
Because it brings up so many other things, and oh my
Mhm.
gosh, forget about it.
As I looked up the definition of what actually is a payroll error,
Okay.
and it's saying that it's any mistake made in processing employee pay, including incorrect wages. So from hourly rates being wrong,
Yep.
overtime calculations being
Yep.
incorrect, incorrect tax handling,
Uh-huh.
miscalculating withholdings or failure to pay taxes on data entry mistakes,
Uh-huh.
so wrong social security numbers, failing to properly process garnishments.
Okay, but those all sound legit. Nothing like
Yeah.
missed.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because
Errors in handling time punches,
yeah,
expense reimbursements.
those.
I think it's all normal
Yeah,
stuff, right?
those are legit errors. Again, some people look an employee, rightfully, they don't care what like we say all the time, right? They don't care what you went through. This payment was missed is an error.
Yep.
I didn't get
Yeah.
my whatever, that quarterly commission, that stipend that I was promised, blah blah blah. Yeah, because the higher ups didn't send it to me, but that doesn't make a difference to them. That's an error. Because
Yeah.
that's what I guess that's what I'm trying to say is like, who says it's an error? You know what I
Yeah, exactly. So it's a good conversation. I
Yes,
think we should do a whole show on
yes,
it.
for sure.
And like just go into it
Yes,
and,
and
just go from
find the
there, man.
stats and go look for it'd be fun to get the
Yeah,
stats and
man.
stuff. We got an amazing guest with us tonight. If you've been payroll long enough, you know there's one question that never really goes away. How do we bring new blood into this profession? Today's guest isn't just asking that question. He's leading the movement to answer it. Troy Markusson, is that right, sir?
That is
a seasoned payroll leader, mentor, creator of a powerful series focused on attracting and inspiring the next generation of payroll professionals. Based out of Dallas, Texas, I won't hold that against you. Troy is known for building teams that mix fresh talent with deep expertise, creating cultures where learning, innovation, and accuracy all thrive together. But here's the best part. Troy proudly calls himself a certified payroll nerd, which in our world basically makes him a payroll superhero. He's someone who wears that badge with pride, using his passion to make payroll cool again, and to remind the world that this career isn't just about numbers, it's about people, purpose, and impact. We are thrilled to have him on today. It's About Payroll. Welcome to the show, Troy.
Well,
thank you. Thanks. Quite the introduction. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Make it cool again. When wasn't payroll cool?
Getting paid has
point.
always been cool, but people don't get it. People don't realize it, man.
Agreed.
Yeah, and Troy, so we always start off with our origin story. How'd you get here?
Yeah. I'm a bit of a rarity. I did not fall into payroll. I chose payroll.
You and Walt. Now I know two people.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in college. I didn't know what I wanted to be in college. So I like numbers. I like definitive answers. And so I went to be an accountant. And so after my sophomore year, I got an internship at one of the government agencies in my hometown in Canada. And that happened to be in a payroll department. And so, jumped right in there, and probably second week. Now, this was a long time ago. We were still dealing with paper timesheets.
Yeah.
And, so one of my first jobs was opening the mail on Mondays and getting the timesheets, adding the time up and keying it into the systems. And, I still remember the day that I went home after work, and I was still living at home, and my mom asked me, like, how's the day? I said, my day was pretty awesome. I am responsible for making sure people get paid. I had a couple other buddies doing internships there. One was doing desktop upgrades. The other one was formatting presentations. And okay, that's important work.
Yeah.
I'm making sure you get paid. And, really from there, I got hooked and, was fortunate enough to come back for a second summer. And then they brought me on full time.
Nice.
And, ended up becoming their payroll accountant after I graduated. And then, then Y2K was coming along. For some of us that are old enough to be in the profession, we knew that meant, all of our payroll systems were going to blow up.
It was going to crash.
And,
yeah.
Yeah. And so my boss asked me, like, hey, Troy, we want you to go on the project. And he had to convince me. I was like, look, I'm not an IT guy. And he's like, look, I don't need IT guys. And look, I'm going to give you some advice early in your career. And that's, you got to take chances. You got to find leaders that are supportive and put you in opportunities to succeed. And you got to trust me with this. And, that was the best decision I ever made. And Blair Buchanan was a phenomenal leader to push me to do that. We ended up being the second company in Canada to implement SAP Net Payroll.
Wow.
And then, went and did 10 years of SAP consulting.
Wow.
Traveling North America. And, payroll nerd ended up at ADP. If you're going to be a nerd, you better end up at one of the big payroll firms,
Big
right?
rig, we call. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a great ride.
Wow. Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So before we get into the topic of attracting new talent or new blood to payroll, over the years, what's one change in payroll, whether that's technology, regulation, or compliance, that has surprised you the most?
That has surprised me the most. I would say a big shift, and I'm really happy to see the shift. I remember not that long ago, 10 years ago, payroll was back office, right? And we had our processes, we had our deadlines, and that was kind of it, right? Hey, you missed the cutoff. And, now, hey, you're going to have to wait. We'll do an off cycle, or look, it's not above a certain threshold, so we're not going to do it. The employee's going to have to wait. I'm really glad to see the shift to, be more employee centric. Mm-hmm. And, just because we've defined a $200 threshold, that doesn't mean that's threshold on the other end. Right. That employee can go without. Yep. So seeing more companies be willing to flex and understand, look, it's not the employee's fault. Rarely is it the employee's fault, right? Usually it's a manager didn't approve something in time. The new hire missed the cutoff, right? And what a horrible way for a new hire to start and say, hey, we're going to have to wait a pay period, right? So for me, that's been a big shift that I've seen companies the last number of years really make the employee the number one. And look, we got to have good processes in the background, and you got to have deadlines, but still, we got to flex.
Awesome. That's cool.
Thank you.
That's cool. Okay. So of all the roles and initiatives you led in payroll, what are you most proud of?
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
I would say I'm most proud of, we were pretty early on when I was at ADP and really pushing automation.
Oh,
And why I'm most proud about it, not only, that we were doing it early, but I'm really proud because, we brought in some really young talent. They were in my organization and they had heard that, look, we want to start looking at this, and some really young talent that was interested in learning more. And he had actually even built some of his own little bots through his Excel checklist. And,
Oh,
look,
wow.
you can click here, I can kick off jobs. And we are like, buddy, you're in the wrong job. Like, you're going to come and be our first automation person.
oh,
I don't know all the technology. I'm like, dude, we will teach. And to this day, he's one of the top leaders in automation,
wow.
in the global payroll space at ADP. So
Oh,
proud
wow.
that we were willing to, go out and try new things, but more proud of, just finding talent that was hungry for it and really growing them and giving them the tools so that they could grow and be phenomenal in their career and finding work that's real rewarding for them.
Amazing. I love it.
That's awesome. So it's the perfect segue as we talk about the new talent in payroll and how we attract them to the industry. Sometimes payroll has the reputation of being boring or just numbers. How do you pitch payroll as a compelling career path to those younger individuals?
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the pitch that I give. It's, look, are you interested in doing something that really is the backbone of the company, where you're impacting every single employee, where you're responsible for one of the largest expenses, where technology is just, there's so many opportunities with technology, where you're literally, funding economies and government programs. And at the same time, what's your passion? Are you passionate about fashion? You passionate about sports? Passionate about music? You can tie your passion to your career now.
Yep.
Doesn't that sound awesome? Doesn't that sound exciting? And
Yes.
rarely do I get a student be like, no, actually, that does not sound like for me, right? They're like, no, that sounds
Sounds
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
That is payroll, right? So that's how, and I've done that, right? I've been in classrooms over the years, and I'll give that pitch, and I'm like, hey, put up your hand if this sounds, an exciting career. And I'll tie things like, look, you touch every part of the company. If you're maybe interested in HR or IT or just the operations, right? Every single hand goes up.
Yep.
I'm like, come talk to me. Let's talk about what payroll can do for you.
Awesome.
I love how you talked about in your series where you said you can go into operations, you can do that. And not a lot of folks expand outside of saying, oh, you can go into HR or payroll account. Usually say, oh, if you can do payroll, you can do accounting or HR. But you're absolutely right. You literally, if you're good, and if you're paying attention, if you're absorbing something that Max Vander Busink says, that you need that business acumen to do payroll. And if you have that business acumen, you can then literally do anything in the company because you
Yeah.
already know what's supposed to happen. So it'll be a quick training, ground for that. And I really love how you say when folks are talking, when you come in and AI, right? People that say, oh, AI is going to eliminate all the entry level. And even me and Walt have said that, man, what happens in the entry level? What's going to happen to that? Because my prediction is that those juniors, those repetitive tasks are going to get impacted. But you said it, right? Folks are going to it's going to be a new job for them with the AI as tools, confirming and building and doing all these. So I love it. If you haven't heard his series yet, what are the episodes? 2 minutes long. You got, I think, 11 or 12. You did a few more, right? You did a bonus or
I,
something.
I have to do the bonus, right?
Yeah.
Talk about the passion, right? Passion,
Yep.
whatever that passion is, get into that.
Yep.
Right?
So check his series out. It's awesome. So, I don't know, the perfect segue here. What skills or personality traits make someone stand out or shine in payroll today beyond just being good with numbers?
Yeah. We all started somewhere, right?
Mm.
We can teach the payroll side of things, right? To me, what's most important is curiosity. Be curious, right? You've got to, I'm very big on being passionate, right? We are impacting people's lives, right? Again, and I've seen leaders that have been in payroll for a long time, and they have phenomenal processes, but there's no compassion there. I need compassionate people, right, that understand just the role that we play. I think also it's really important to be willing to get out there, as you said earlier, get out into the field and, got to be able to communicate, got to be able to feel comfortable getting out into the field and talking to the team members, to the managers, right? So to me, that's also really important. Look, you got to have some willingness to get out there. There are great payroll people that they just love to be heads down. But again, to your point, some of that heads down work will go away. We need those other skills in the future. So those are 3 areas. And, when I bring in students, that's what I'll talk about. Talk to me about a time that, you were presented with a problem and, you didn't know how to solve for it. How did you play? What curiosities did you have about that process? How did you dig in? That's what I want in payroll people. Then, hey, you're curious and you're compassionate. I'll teach you payroll.
There you go. Love it.
Awesome.
Love it.
So what are some of the most common mistakes that you've seen organizations make when they've tried to recruit or onboard that new payroll talent? And can you speak to what they should do differently?
Yeah. It's, and I hate to say it because I'm one of those now, I got 30 years of payroll experience, but, I think leaning in so heavily on the experience and support, do not get me wrong,
Of course. Yeah.
but missing out on those soft skills, missing out on, their ability to communicate, their ability to, solve problems, when you're under a tremendous amount of pressure. To me, those are, being able to communicate, especially for leaders, right? If you're bringing in a new leader, talk to me about a time that you had to present to the CHRO or the CFO, bad news,
Oof.
right? How did that go?
Yep.
Right? You've got to be able to have, to me, those are the skills that I look for really the most is, those, and not just that, hey, you know what? I run a payroll shop that has 99.9% accuracy and, I cut my off-cycle costs by 75%. Okay. Those are great metrics, right? We need metrics to measure, but to me, you need to have some of those other skills.
Awesome.
I love it. So bridging the gap here, bridging that generational gap, the culture gap. How do you balance bringing fresh perspectives with preserving institutional knowledge and compliance discipline? Just like you said, it's good to have the KPIs and the things, but you need fresh. How do you balance it? How would you suggest to balance it?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, we talked about it a little bit earlier, I try and bring in people from the field.
Okay.
I try and bring in, maybe some of the timekeepers off, where I'm at now, we got 90,000 hourly workers in the United States.
Holy
right.
moly.
So we've got keepers out in the field, even the leaders out in the field, right? When we have challenges, when we have issues, those are the people that I'm leading on the most. My HR business partners out in the field that are, living the day to day.
Oh, they would be really good. They know. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything that we roll out, I do not roll that out sitting in my little vacuum, in my corporate office, right? We might start with an idea that I have and then, okay, immediately let's bring in that talent and that really knows how it is. And, hey guys, what do you got? And then, hey, look, we can't really do that because we will have a compliance issue here. Okay, we got to run that by legal. We got to make sure that what we're proposing is still compliant. But yeah, I think it's just really important to bring in their perspectives because no matter what I roll out, it's only going to be successful if they're on board with it.
Yep.
And it's something that can truly be executed on in the field.
Love it.
Awesome. So in terms of mentorship or buddy systems, have you ever set those up in payroll? And if so, what's worked and what hasn't?
Yeah. When I was at ADP, it was great. We had a local university there in El Paso, UTEP. And so every semester we had interns that came in, some of those interns ended up coming on full time in payroll. I think getting them in, getting exposure and not just sitting there doing real mundane work, but giving them real problems to solve and, pulling that creativity out of them. I would say, look, and sometimes what hasn't worked is we brought in people and they've ultimately said, okay, I've looked under the hood, not really for me. And look, that's okay too, but at least they have a little bit more of an understanding
Yep.
now about the other side of it. We used to really focus on, doing rotations and giving
Oh,
folks
wow.
exposure to different parts of the business, whether it was all, payroll for the first time or maybe just on the service side versus implementation, just giving them exposure and kind of living the other side of it a little bit, seeing the other side of it. I would say what doesn't work is anytime you bring anybody in, it's just giving them you want to scare somebody away from payroll, give them the most boring, mundane task within the organization, right? Yes. Do we still have some of those tasks?
Sure.
Absolutely. But you will lose them quickly. Not everyone's a nerd like me that gets excited about being in timesheets, right? So there's a balance there, right? Definitely.
Love that. I love that. What would you say to a newer payroll professional, let's say 2 to 5 years in, and they wanted to accelerate their growth and like, all right, I'm ready for more?
Yeah. Yeah. Step outside of your current organization. So, what I tell leaders this all the time. Look, gone are the days where you start off as a junior specialist, and then you move to a senior specialist, and then you work to a lead, and then a supervisor, and then the manager. And no, you might start off in payroll, and then maybe you got to step outside of payroll for a couple of years and go do something in HR,
Mhm.
or you may go on to a special project, right? Maybe it's related to payroll. Maybe it's not related to payroll. Maybe it's part of the transformation organization. And then come back. You've now got new tools in your tool belt.
Yes.
And now you can really elevate to, to that next level. And really, that's what I look for when I bring in senior leaders in my organizations is what have you done outside of just the traditional payroll path? Right. When I was at ADP, right, it was all payroll there. Did you do some implementations? Did you maybe do some work on the technology side? Did you support clients from a relationship standpoint? All of those areas give you a different perspective, right? And, now that I am, back in the operations, right, do you have some ops experience? Do you really have a good understanding of all of the other inputs that come into payroll?
Awesome.
So, speaking on your series that you created about recruiting and attracting new talent, new blood to payroll, is there a thesis or a main message from that series that you want to speak to?
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
I think it's just if getting the message out there that payroll is not just this boring back office function, right? That the impact that we do play. And I still tell, even though I've got a lot of people on payroll, at my current organization, I'm preaching that message to them all the time. We are impacting employees every single day. We are impacting the business every single day. So to me, that's where I always start that is the impact that we have here. And we got to take that very seriously, and we got to be very passionate about it. Not everyone has to have my passion, but you got to understand just what's at stake. Because if you do come into payroll, you're going to work long hours at times. We're going to have those all-nighters at times, and you better love it. Otherwise, it's just going to eat you up.
It's true that it has to be meaningful. That like I think anything you do, you got to do it with a purpose. You have to find that purpose in what you're doing, because if not, you're not going to be able to grind it out. Like you say, you're not going to be able to do long nights. I remember once I had a team. I don't know if they did it on purpose. I feel like they did, but because I was new. I was a new manager, and two of them went out on medical leave at the same time, right before both their payrolls. And I feel like they timed it because it was one had a bi-weekly, one had a weekly, and they left me with both of them, the bi-weekly and the weekly. I worked till 11 o'clock midnight and got it done with very little error. It was error because I missed some stuff, the nuances that that are there that I wasn't familiar with. And after that, they treated me totally different. They saw
Yep.
me, they were like, you are real payroll, right? Like
Yeah.
I earned their respect in that moment because they were like, oh, wow, okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you got to have that
No
purpose.
matter what, no matter what level you're at, you still got to roll up your sleeves at times.
Yeah.
We were impacted a number of years ago with, that wonderful outage around the holidays. I won't mention the vendor, timekeeping.
Yeah.
And, there was Troy, even though I was the vice president, here I'm cleaning up spreadsheets.
Wow.
And on the back end when we had to, send out letters of, to reconcile everyone's hours, I'm in there stuffing envelopes, right?
Wow.
Gain a lot of respect from the there with them. Even there was times where there was nothing I could do around your end. You do not want me helping do your W-2 reconciliations, but I'm going to stay there till 1 a.m. with you. And I'm going to do the 10 PM Starbucks run.
Yep.
And I'm going to go, I'm not going to be like,
make sure they got coffee.
Yep.
Fueled up.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a good one.
Brian, they put you through the crucible, man.
They did. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I guess they don't know, they don't know about me, and because me and Walt talk about it all the time. Our claim to fame, both of us, is just processing well, being able to process well. And then that led us to be able to do other things. Because if you nail processing, now you have time. You're like, all right, hey, you got anything else for me?
Yeah.
Oh, you're done? What do you mean? I'm done,
You mean you didn't get it so efficient that they didn't need you and you lost your job?
Exactly. Exactly. Even in new places, sometimes it'll be hectic in the beginning, put in the long hours, get it straight, and then you get it to a point where it's like, oh, wait, I don't have to do any long hours anymore. I got it under control. One of my gauges has been no emails on Friday, like on payday. Like, am I getting a slew of emails with mistake? Oh, I missed this, and I get no email. There was a time recently that I literally had to send myself an email to the payroll inbox to make sure it was working. Yeah, because I was like, it's payday. I haven't got anything today, and it's like 3 o'clock. I'm like, wait a minute, let me check this, make sure this inbox is working. It's probably earlier than I checked it.
Yeah, it was the calm. It was the calm before the storm.
Oh
huh,
yeah,
Brian?
it was good. It was good,
good.
and that's it. It was just turned it around, and that's stabilizing payroll.
Sure.
From question though, from that series, did anything, did you gain any insight from the series that surprised you, and you even changed your own thinking about, like, in the preparation? Oh wow, you know what? Any aha moments as you were preparing for the series?
I would say the bonus episode.
Oh,
as just listening to other people. And, of course, we see people that, come on different podcasts and whatnot, someone like Davida coming on and talking about, her work in the entertainment industry, and just different folks out there is like, like, how cool. I'm a huge sports nut. And how cool would that be to do exactly. Do payroll for an NFL team, or, do payroll. So for me, and of course, every single company needs payroll.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, why did that take a bonus episode? That should have been like episode 2, whatever your passion is.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And it's funny because we're about to publish a book, and on this subject, and that's why you're here, because I caught your series and I was like, wait a minute, this guy has to come on the show. Like, this is synergy. And Max caught a chapter and was like, Brian, it was like purpose. I think it's like Find Your Purpose was the name of the chapter or something like that. He's like, you got to move that up. It was like the last chapter. He's like, you need to move that up to the top because it shouldn't be that. And I agreed. I was like, yep, no problem. So things you're saying, it's so great, man. I'm really excited about where we are in the future of things. Sorry, Walt, I know I'm going on.
So you're good. You're good. Let me ask you, Troy, in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you hope payroll teams will look like as far as structure, technology, roles? What do you foresee?
Yeah. Again, to me, it is all about the employee. It is all about their experience, right? And we have people in payroll that are really sitting there and designing the employee interactions, right? Of course, we all hear AI all the time. We need somebody to be designing, what we want those AI tools to do and what the problems are that we want them to solve.
Yep.
We need to constantly, why payroll's so great, because it's changing every single day with all the legislation, everything else. And we need to be training those tools, right? So for me, that's where I envision, right? We're not going to be doing all of our VLOOKUPs and pivot tables and everything else, right? But we're going to be designing, right, the AI tools. Hey, here's a new way that we want to slice and dice this data. Here's, this is a new way that we want to help support our employees, right? Hey, we're starting to see cases come in on X, questions on X. Wouldn't it be great if we could predict those questions that those employees have before they even have them, right? Or, being able to use, look at our benefit programs and whatnot that are out there that are underutilized. And hey, how can payroll folks work with our benefit teams to help design, push notifications going out to employees, say, hey, we notice, you live X number of miles from the office and you're not taking advantage of our commuter benefits. Would you like me to set that up for you? Make it that easy.
Yep.
Or, hey, we noticed that you hit your social security limit, your net pay's gone up. Would you like me to set up, that additional $300 for savings for the rest? So to me, that's what I want my payroll teams to be focused on, is what problems can we help solve that, again, the employees aren't even aware that it's a problem for them today, or it's not even a question that they have today.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
So if you could build, and I feel like you've said a few elements already, if you could build a payroll dream team, what would those roles or skills look like? What would be the building blocks for you?
Yeah. And start with, all about the employee and their experience and understanding of the business, right? So people that are employee centric, people that know the business inside and out, and people that are really curious and are very open to and not scared of technology.
Yep.
Right. I want them every day to be questioning, hey, technology should be able to solve for this. We're in the year 2025.
Yes.
Technology should solve for this.
That's right.
I understand we got to do our manual pivot tables today to get through the issue today, but that's not our future process, right? Hey, we pivot, we resolve the issue today with manual, and we pivot immediately to tech to solve for the future.
All right.
I love it.
All right. So before we close out and move on to our this or that segment with you, Troy, what's one final thing that you'd like listeners to know?
One thing that I'd like listeners to know, gosh, I would just say, look, I mentioned earlier, I've been doing this for 30 years and I still get challenged every single day.
Wow.
Learn something new every single day about this every single day. And I guess that's the payroll nerd in me, but whatever you want to do, I hope you find something that challenges you and keeps you as fulfilled as this career has for me.
No doubt.
Awesome.
I love that.
Awesome.
I love that.
Right.
So we play a game with everybody called This or That. It's just to get to know you beyond payroll and have some
prepared
fun with it. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do the first three, Walt.
Okay.
Cowboys or the Texans?
This episode is brought to you by Voco Hotels by IHG, where you should prepare to be charmed. From Chicago to Myrtle Beach to Saranac Lake, each Voco in the U.S. has its own local flavor and unique detail. Our hosts welcome you with little extras, and you'll find rooms for catching up on me time and full-service bars and restaurants that are perfect for us time. Come on in and live the Voco life and book your next stay at vocohotels.com. VOCO hotels.com.
I'm living in Dallas. You got to go for the Cowboys.
Ooh.
Hard to go
You
for the
don't have
Cowboys.
to.
Look, I heard Cowboys fans aren't even choosing Cowboys anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, but
I'm a New York Giant fan, so no Cowboys for me. All right, so
I guess
Cowboys.
I should have gone with neither.
There you go. Because you get neither, both. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
All right. Are you a in office or remote type of guy?
Both. I am a big fan of meaningful in-office interaction.
Okay.
Not
That's right.
come to the office because we got to check off a box.
Yes.
Right.
Oh gosh.
Come together, do brainstorming.
Yep.
Come together to work on projects together. Sometimes it still is great to have that war room to work through go lives, issues. I always still prefer coaching, being face to face when you can.
Yeah.
Meaningful.
I love
But
it.
also there's nothing like, and again, Payroll, we work long days sometimes. And you got to add a 45-minute commute each way. And I got payroll processing.
Yeah.
And then I got to shut it down for an hour until I get home at 5 o'clock to pick it back up.
Yep.
You can get a lot done when you are virtual.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a big thing for me, is especially when you got if you're like in office on a processing day and you got to stay long. No, come on. You lose 2 hours. If you have that type of commute, you lose 2 hours in processing. So I can go there, and I'm not even, and like you said, there's no meaningful when I'm processing all day. Like, you're not getting anything other than head down. Yeah, sure. Last one for
Now,
you.
I'd say though, some of my most memorable times in my career have been with teams, like I mentioned, where look, it's year end. We're all in the office together until midnight, 1 a.m, and, we're waiting for final client approvals or, something to load into the production system. And they're shooting the Nerf basketball in the office. Those are some great times that you just don't replicate that when you are at home. So,
Yeah. No doubt.
now, again, at midnight, it would be nice if you're still working to be at home.
Yeah.
But some great memories over the years of being together.
No doubt. Monthly close or a mid-month correction?
Hey, I would say if you can correct it before month-end close.
Right. Neither
That's,
for me.
Correct before final. I would always go for that.
No doubt.
But hey, you got your month-end close. And if you do your month-end closes right and your quarter-end closes right, then year-end close isn't so bad.
For real.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So would you prefer Texas barbecue or Texas
barbecue?
Who got you? Okay. So the next one, coffee, an energy drink.
I'm not a coffee drinker.
Okay.
I will do an energy drink occasionally, but tea. Yep.
And then lastly, would you prefer learning via a formal training program or learning on the job or through mentorship?
Oh, on the job. I mentor a lot of leaders or aspiring leaders. And, I tell them all the day, look, 10% of your growth and development is going to be through your formal programs. Your 70% is you got to turn that development mindset on.
No doubt.
Right? That should be on every single day, right? And you should be self-reflecting after, you just got chewed out by that employee or, you had to present to the CHRO. That's where the development is. That's where you really grow as a person. So yeah, for me, it's on the job every single.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Thank you, Troy, man. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and responding to me on LinkedIn and, just kind of, making this connection, man. I think it's important for us now moving us us veterans, as kind of coming together and really solidifying this campaign, and because nobody else is going to do it but us, right? If we need that fresh blood, nobody else is going to do it. We got
Yep.
to really champion this cause for them and show them this is a career path. You can absolutely have a whole fulfilling career. And thank you for being a
Absolutely.
part of that and championing it on your own as well.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me.
Oh,
No, I
absolutely.
appreciate all that you guys do.
Thank you.
I got long commutes on a Monday morning, and you guys are usually one of my podcasts.
Oh, man.
That
Thank you.
that 5 a.m. And so you guys are keeping me on the road while I'm having my tea and my energy drink back.
Well, good.
No
Thank
doubt.
you for saying that.
We appreciate that, man. We appreciate that.
Did you want to close it with the quote of the day?
Oh, I didn't see it. Yeah. All right. Every day is a new beginning. Take a deep breath, smile, and start again. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And until the next time, folks, we love you. All right.